Hello students, welcome back to your history class. We are doing the seventh chapter, Changing Cultural Traditions. And last class we spoke about the debates that arose within Christianity, how Martin Luther King started to campaign against the church, how Bible started to be available in the local languages, and how people realized the actual religion. We spoke about radicalism also, and today we are going to speak about the Copernican revolution. The Christian notion of a man was of a sinner, and this was questioned from a completely different angle by scientists. The turning point in the European science came with the work of Copernicus. He was a contemporary Martin Luther. Christians used to believe that earth was a sinful place and the heavy burden of sin made it immobile. The earth stood at the center of the universe around which it moved the celestial planets. Celestial means divine or heavenly, while terrestrial implies having a worldly quality. So, Christian used to believe that earth is a sinful place, and because of so many sins that we are making, so the earth is stationary. And they also believe that earth stood at the center of the universe and the celestial planets moved around earth. Now, Copernicus, he asserted that the planets, including the Earth, rotate around the sun. He was a devout Christian, and Copernicus was so very afraid of the possible reaction to his theory by the traditionalist clergymen. For this reason, he did not want his manuscript, De Revolutionibus, to be printed. So he was so scared that if I'm going to come out with this theory, how are people going to react? And he was a devout Christian, and so he was not wanting his book to be printed. On his deathbed, he gave this book to his follower, Joachim Rethicus. It took time for people to accept this idea. Johannes Kepler, it was much later, more than half a century later, that the difference between heaven and earth was bridged through the writing of astronomers like Johannes Kepler and Galileo Galilei. The theory of the earth as a part of the sun-centric system was made popular by Kepler's cosmographical mystery. It demonstrated that the planets move around the sun not in circle but in ellipses. Galileo also confirmed the notion of the dynamic world in his work The Motion. So Galileo Galilei, in his work The Motion, proved the notion of dynamic world. This revolution in science reached its climax with Isaac Newton's theory of gravitation. So the scientists started to question the notion of the Christian man as a sinner, and the Christians used to believe that earth was a place of sin and the burden of sin made it stationary. The earth was the center of universe around which the celestial planets moved. This was all the beliefs of the Christian. And the scientists started to question all this. Now, Copernicus, he developed a theory that Earth, together with other planets, revolved around the sun. He handed this manuscript to his disciple Joachim Rheticus before his death, and people took lots of time to accept this truth. Now, Johannes Kepler, he popularized the theory that Earth is a part of the sun-centered solar system. In his cosmographical mystery, he demonstrated that planets revolved around the sun, not in circles but in eclipses. Galileo Galilei, in his work The Motion, proved the notion of dynamic world. The revolution in science reached its climax when the theory of gravitation came by Isaac Newton. The works of extended rapidly into the forms of physics, chemistry, and biology. The historians term this new approach to the knowledge of man and nature as the scientific revolution. I'd like to share a small video.
Have you ever been in an argument and then someone turns to you and says, "The world doesn't revolve around you, you know"? Well, for centuries, that's actually what people believed. The Copernican revolution on Moments in Minutes. Until the 17th century, the accepted system for explaining the universe was the Ptolemaic or geocentric model. From the days of ancient Greece, Earth was considered the center of the solar system and the known universe, with all other planets and stars revolving around it. This theory was largely unchallenged until the publication of Nicholas Copernicus on the revolutions of the heavenly spheres in 1543. Taking his ideas from Greek astronomer Aristarchus and Islamic astronomers Mu'ayyad al-Din al-Urdi and Ibn al-Shatir, Copernicus proposed a heliocentric model with the sun at the center of the known universe in place of geocentrism. In the early modern world, such a theory was explosive in nature. And when I say explosive, I mean being banned from public circulation for over 200 years. Explosive. Despite this, Copernicus's ideas spread throughout Europe's scientific community, with prominent scientists supporting and expanding on his ideas, launching the Copernican revolution. Tycho Brahe found compromise between the old and new models with the geo-heliocentric model, where the sun orbited the Earth and the planets orbited the sun. Johannes Kepler used Copernican theory to prove the existence of elliptical orbits. Galileo Galilei's observations of Venus and Jupiter's moons provided further evidence for planets revolving around the sun and not the Earth. Isaac Newton used Kepler's laws of planetary motion to explain the existence of gravity, which was one of the three famous laws of motion outlined in his book, Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy. This book is viewed as the transition between the Copernican revolution and the scientific revolution that formed the crux of modern science. It's difficult to underestimate just how influential the Copernican revolution was. It was a paradigm shift in the way people understood their place in life. Prior to Copernicus, the Catholic Church and ancient philosophy placed man at the center of our cosmos. But heliocentrism came and knocked those foundations right out from under us. Suddenly, man was no longer the divine end result of creation, the center of the Aristotelian pure circle with the universe whizzing around his paramount position amongst all life. Thanks to the Copernican revolution, we now know that we're just mere flotsam and jetsam in the grander scheme of evolution, and no longer the center of everything that revolves around us. The Copernican revolution also gave birth to modern science and philosophy. The upheaval that heliocentrism caused in the 16th century led to the Enlightenment and the scientific revolution. Both of these movements marked the transition in authority from the spiritual to the secular. The religious dogma that informed humanity for centuries had now become the focus of countless studies, inquiries, and theories that championed reason as the guiding light in human society and led to the enormous progress in human achievement that has occurred over the last 300 years.
So this was the Copernicus revolution. So now people realize that the world did not revolve around us. Galileo said, in questions of science, the authority of 1,000 is not worth the humble reasoning of a single individual. And like Isaac Newton said, Plato is my friend, Aristotle is my friend, but my greatest friend is the truth. So these are some great quotes to end today's class with. Short class today. We'll complete the chapter tomorrow and then we'll do notes and question and answer. So students, stay home, stay safe, take care, keep learning. Thank you.